Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Minifandom. Yes, Kirk has taken a couple of weeks off, so I've tried to wheedle out the old Minifandom show. We had Tom Shattuck and Montante on last week, and Danny this week pulled out the big guns. Greg Poehler, who had an incredible performance last time he was on the main show in August, coming to you from Sweden, I believe. Greg, welcome.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be finally at the top of the Minifan Mountain on a Menors show. I've said many times you're the only person who treats this show with the seriousness that it deserves, and so I appreciate that, sir. Good work.
Thank you.
You're out there in the front lines.
I am indeed, and it's great to have you on. I think you were just in studio after Coleman slept in. I think it was after the Coleman sleep-in debacle. And since then, he's gone. Shocking news.
Yeah. I mean, it's to have Dave back, though. I mean, it feels like, I don't know. I think, like you, I was a little hesitant about the Cullinane return. But I think he's doing well. And I think the show has kind of settled into, what it is or what it should be with Dave and Justin. I like both of those guys. So I think, post Coleman has been part of me really was wanting to see what Mick was going to, dissolve into, because that probably wouldn't have lasted long, but I would have loved to have seen it from a selfish perspective.
Turn off your emails, buddy.
Yeah, so those are for my wife. I'm on her computer.
Thank you, Mrs. Poehler.
But I think for his mental health, it's probably best that he didn't take the job in retrospect, despite being offered it numerous times.
And I've got a lot of things to go through with you, and a lot of things you just mentioned mix on my list. But on Minifandom, we always start with the origin story of your Minifandom. So let's get this out of the way. Obviously, we know you and Kirk had this, competitive battle at high school level on the basketball courts. But when did you first start listening to one Kirk Seamus Minahan?
Well, for me, when Kirk was on EEI with Jerry, it coincided really well because, when I first came here, I was working at a law firm. I was lawyering here at a firm. And so for my lunch break between 12 and 1 would be when Kirk and Callahan started, or Dennis and Callahan, I guess, first. And so I would always catch that while I was eating lunch. I would go somewhere and listen to that first hour of the show. And for me, it was like, and that was right around the time when you started to be able to even get, streaming stuff from your homeland. So, I had been here for a few years and loved listening to Boston sports radio because it was the most local thing. It was like comforting while I was eating lunch to go back to that, to my hometown, to hear people calling in and complaining and things like that. So yeah, from then on, I kind of, realized that Kirk was the talent there, and have listened to, I think, every KMS show since, after he broke it off. Didn't listen to much of Mutt and Callahan.
No one did.
No, because like everyone else. So so I've kind of just been following Kirk.
And how have you passed the time in the last couple of weeks with no KMS?
Well, I've actually been weirdly busy with these last 2 weeks at work, so it's actually worked out for me. I've had a couple of things popping up, but I have
Scarlett Johansson, just can't get her off the phone. Yeah, I have that problem too. She's always calling me, and can I come on Minifandom?
She won't leave me alone. No, I've been. I watched some of the producers' stuff. I appreciate the fact that they're producing, that they're making shows every day. I got a real big kick out of yesterday's show where they had a segment where they were saying goodbye to the John Amos caller as if the caller had died. I mean, they were talking about him in the past tense, like, oh well, he certainly was a great caller. It's like he could still call.
He's not dead. Yeah,
he's not dead. It's just the real guy's dead. So,
well, did they think it was actually John Amos calling?
That's a possibility. You never know.
I mean, they are pretty stupid, those two.
But no, I think they're doing a good job, holding down the fort. And I know Kirk will be back tomorrow, right? So that's good.
Friday, yeah. So there's a wild just on John Amos. Did you hear that story that apparently someone posed as his publicist at the hospital, and that's why the family didn't find out that he died for months, because someone had like posed as his publicist.
Oh,
Bizarre story.
I didn't hear that story. I did hear that he had been dead for months, and that's, I mean, talk about, people always talk about fame and what that's about and how great it is, and then you have someone like him who was, he couldn't have been bigger when I was younger. I was a real big Good Times fan. He was the father in that family, going way back, and then of course, as the owner of McDowell's as well. But and then towards the end of his life, he's dead for months and nobody knows. I mean, it's the most ignominious death for obituary I've ever heard.
His death was no different to Jon Stewart's.
Exactly. They both, things take time when it comes to
they do. They absolutely do. And are you a network guy?
From time to time, there's certain shows that I enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Which ones?
Like, you're talking about a Menors Network shows?
Well, any shows, Drips, whatever. Not
a Drips fan. It's not, doesn't really interest me. I watch anything you're on, to be honest. I'm not saying that just because you're here, but
Craig, you're too kind.
It pops up in my algorithm. So that's why. I do sadly check out every inconsistency podcast and hate myself for it afterwards. But
they're short.
They're short, and I'm always expecting. You never know what to expect there, so it's intriguing for me. That's about it as far as on the reg. I mean, I do Mike and the Minifans, depending on who's on there. I'll check out.
It's going downhill.
Sure. Yeah. Was it ever up the hill? I guess is the question I would ask. But,
well, it's even going further down the hill.
It's okay. Now it's crazy at basement level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the networks are still the network. Are you a Kane guy? Have you been, lulled into the Kane conundrum?
I've checked. I thought I was following his. Well, first of all, he is a person I can't quite figure out. I mean, he comes out, guns blazing, and you suck, and this sucks, and he's come after me a couple times, like shitting on me, like out of nowhere, on Twitter, and I don't think I've ever met the guy. And then when he's on the show, he brings none of that. I know Kirk says that, but it's like, where is that? That guy could be interesting if he was a true hater. And so I don't really know where he fits in terms of like who he is as a person. But I did follow his drama, his baby mama drama, I guess.
Oh, good. Yep.
Which was insane, and glossed over on a couple of the episodes that I saw where they were, he was like, yeah, and I told her work, and everyone's like, oh, okay. I mean, for me, that could have been its own episode. So it could have delved into that a little bit more, or maybe we don't want to know too much about that. But some of those show haters I don't quite get in terms of, like, I think that's just kind of an act that they're trying to find their way in. But I don't know. I'd like for them to be more consistent in their hatred.
I mean, I think Kane's just came out of the gates trying to get a bit of attention, and now he's sort of getting back to. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a really nice guy. He just did an interview with Mama Kay where he tried to do a Kirk impression. It doesn't work. He's just got to be himself. Steve from Gloucester. So you listen to the Inconsistency podcast. I feel like he's got a lot of airtime, but he's gone away again. Prediction, Poehler. Do you think he'll be back, or this is it?
I think he'll try to come back. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's irresistible to people like him. I think once they get a little bit of attention, we'll see. I selfishly, I actually really want to see him play basketball because he's talking so much about it. Although there's been two other instances of that on the show, both Mick and what's his name, the other guy.
Which one?
the Portuguese guy. His name's
Oh,
escaping me.
Cinema Lords, Dava.
No, not those two.
Which one?
The other guy from
Which
Fall River.
Oh, Cinema Lords. He's
No, the other guy who was.
I know he's. He was Cliff.
Cliff. Sorry, Cliff. I couldn't remember your name.
We got there, Cliff. Cliff, you
both
made it.
Cliff and Mick were, came on the show strong, saying they were amazing basketball players, and then they weren't at all. I mean, they were, borderline terrible. So I'm anxious to see if Steve fits into that category, or if he. It would be amazing to see if he was actually good at basketball. I can't process the fact that Steve could be good on the court. So I want someone to challenge him at some point. I will challenge him next time I'm in town.
There we go. A Poehler will take on Steve from Gloucester next time he's in town. So, how much did you love getting out there with Team KMS? Just one last time, strapping on the boots, taking on the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, it was a real depressing experience, actually, overall, just because I was so out of shape, and it was good in the life sense, because I've dropped 15 pounds since then, almost exclusively because of that game, where I realized how out of shape I was. And it was, I don't know if you were in that gym ever, but the gym was like 1,000 degrees. I mean, it was insane. And before the game, we went and warmed up in an adjacent gym, which I thought would be cool, but it was even hotter. And so when the game started, even before the game started, I was drenched, like dripping sweat. So I wish I could have played more, because I feel like we would have won, honestly, if I was out there, if I could stay out there long. But I just didn't have the basketball stamina. The time that I was on the floor was made 50 times better because of Josh and James. They were so kind to me in their play-by-play that, I mean, it's great. It's a good highlight for my kids.
Well, you did it.
Yes. We did it. We almost did it.
Yeah, I think that game they could have won, or the next game that Kirk missed. That there were two opportunities, and then all the other teams were just so far ahead of Team KMS. And as I say, it's like when you're way ahead in skill and fitness, you're fucked. Like you got to be able to match them on something.
And then there was this weird rumor that Jeff D. Lowe, I still don't understand that. He said, he had sources saying I was coming back for the playoff game. I don't know if he was just trying to stir things up.
Honestly, Greg, Jeff is a huge arm waver. He's a huge arm waving attention seeker. He is desperate for any bit of oxygen he can get. He was just using you for clout. It's the same old story, honestly.
He's just using me for clout. Yeah.
Saw the last name, thought I'm going to get on here. I mean, he's a movie guy, so he's probably using you to get to your sister.
I remember I was at my summer house, deep in the woods, and the game was, I don't know, a couple hours from starting, and I was like, I'm just going to send a screenshot of a flight that's arriving, and I immediately felt really bad because people were like, "Oh my God, he's here, he's doing it, and I was like, "Oh no, this is
fucking around."
It's going to be such a letdown for people who are expecting me to show up valiantly, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah. So you've had some success. When you walk off set and you've had a good recording, or you've the joke. It's just buzzy. I know. I'm a creator too. You just sometimes you're just feeling it. You get it. When you walk out of KMS, like last time in August, you've had a good show. Is that like some kind of satisfaction?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. Actually, it's one of the best questions on the network I've heard. Exactly the same, to be honest. I mean, like a show like that, like last show when Justin was talking about his grandfather there, that was for me, that was like the funniest bit that I've been involved in on the show. And not that I was contributing all that much to it, but it's just to be in there knowing that, the show probably went half to 45 minutes longer than it should have, just because it was so fun to talk about his grandfather's scheming. So yeah, it's a similar feeling. Yesterday I actually had a 1 hour stand-up gig at this corporate pharmaceutical company, which is normally is like the worst. Like it's, you know, I do it solely for the money, and it's usually just the worst experience ever. But for the first time in a long time in one of those, it went great. Like right from the beginning, everyone was laughing hysterically at jokes that weren't all that funny, to be honest.
Great, perfect.
Pharmaceutical jokes at the beginning.
Well, they're just happy not to be at their office. They're just like, this is
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah. So that feeling, especially on the stand-up side, when you walk off and things go well, there's no better feeling in the world. The flip side of that is when it goes poorly, it's 10 times worse. You feel like the worst human being of all time. So I'm not sure if it's worth it in the long run in terms of the pros and cons, but every show I've been on with Kirk, I mean, I felt pretty good coming out of it. I love going there. I love talking to Kirk, and you know, I am such a fan of the show that I really feel like I'm one of these, you know, fans that get to come in, which is, I guess, is what I am.
Yeah.
So it just feels, you know, I had listened to the show for so long before I went in for the first time. So yeah, it feels very comfortable for me now.
I know that I think Kirk and Mike are quite quick by any objective standards. You know, you need a certain speed in improv. Kirk and Mike together are pretty quick. Like they can run with a bit. Like they just get to it very quickly, which is the secret.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky too. As a third, I've almost always been in there with Mike. There's only one time where I haven't, I think. And so that takes a little bit getting used to. It was being like when to, especially when there's a producer also talking, like when you should jump in.
We all heard you just whispering for the first two shows.
It's clearly a mic issue. I would still maintain because my levels have been the same. Yeah, so I think I've gotten better at that, you know, when to jump in. But yeah, for me, it's just, you know, I feel like whenever I'm on the show, it's also like I'm just listening to the show, but I get to make some comments.
Do you keep in touch with Kirk much?
I mean, we text, you know, fairly frequently. Frequently, I shouldn't say that, but you know, when major life events happen.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I've actually asked him. There was a script that I wrote last year that took place. It was a modern day story, but it had 80s music in it. So he gave me a great list of 80s songs to include in the soundtrack for that, which hopefully is coming out soon. That movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called All Nighter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it'll be on a streaming service or?
Yeah, I mean, it's in production now, so I don't know where it's going to end up.
Well, fingers crossed. Well, actually, on a recent show, you said you were struggling after a failed project. Have you purged those demons? Are you feeling completely over it now? On to the next thing?
Not really. I mean, I still need one. Like, you know, I had a 7-year run, which was incredible. I had, you know, I was a lawyer, like I said, until I was almost 40, and then I wrote Welcome to Sweden.
So I just want to go back to that. What made you switch? You just saw what your sister was doing and think this is sweet, or had you wanted to do it in the past and then?
Yeah, I mean, it's a longer story, I guess, but I mean, you know, when I was in,
we've got plenty of time.
When I was in college, my sister was in this improv group that I was actually going to audition for.
Second City?
No, this was in Boston.
All right.
And then, because she had been in it before, and then I went to visit her in Chicago. She was in Second City.
Yep.
Well, Improv Olympic, which is basically adjacent to that.
I've had friends work there. And
I went out there and I saw a show with her in it, and I was so blown away by how good they were that I was like, I can't be that. And these people are losers, you know. These people are waiters and waitresses and stuff. And it turns out it was like her. It was Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, Horatio Sands, Dave Koechner, Stephen Colbert. Like they were among, you know, others that were in this larger show, but it was this, you know, it was like the best in the world that I was watching. So it scared me off. I was thinking, like, these people are nobody. Is like, you know, how can I even why would I even try doing that? So I kind of had it in the back of my head for the remainder of my life. And then, still thought that train had passed. But what happened was I literally, when I moved to Sweden, that whole scenario was so funny to me that first day when I met my wife's parents for the first time. Not when I moved, when I came to Sweden for the first time. That it had always been percolating in my head, like this can be a good story, a script. And so I wrote that like on a computer up in my attic, not knowing if anybody would read it. And then I had a mutual friend who was a creator and kind of big time star here at TV4 in Sweden, Felix Herngren, who I had a meeting with, and he really liked the script and wanted to do it. So it was it that's, I mean, yeah, it was. And from there, and from there, they didn't really have an American actor to play, because, you couldn't really, it was too expensive to get an American actor to come here and play it. So I was like, I can do it. And so then they were like, all right. And then I just couldn't believe everybody was letting me do it. It was a weird kind of.
And then you got an agent.
Yeah, eventually. Well, that was when it was just the Swedish show. And then it turned into, NBC bought it. That's when my sister got on board, because I was
legit now. You'd earned her respect.
I was asking all of her friends to do cameos in it. I wrote Will Ferrell into the pilot episode because he has a Swedish wife, so he had come here a few times. So I knew him outside of the show, and so once she figured out that I was going to have, and I had the pitch was that I would get a celebrity for every episode. So in that sense, I certainly used my sister's connections to sell the show. And then after that, I auditioned for You, Me, Her, and got that. And so for 5 years, I was on that show. So I had a 7-year stretch where I was making a ton of money, like, more than I ever thought I would make. And my wife and I were actually just talking about this during that period. Like I now realize how like these sports stars blow all their money.
Yeah. You were just spending what you were having a great time.
Because when money started rolling in, we were like, all right, let's do this. This is going to last forever. So, we bought a couple houses and we were flying business class. The thing that the one expense that really
and the bubble burst,
looking back on it, was the business class tickets. We would always fly business class as a family, 5 of us. For during this 7-year period, so that sometimes these trips to the U.S. were like $25,000 or so,
Yeah.
But we were like, whatever, let's roll it. And so now that it's been a couple of years I need another, long way of saying I feel like I need another show, and I have a bunch of things out there that we're pitching. So I'd like to get another yes to a show. I have a couple movie scripts that I've now sold. And I directed a few commercials 2 weeks ago in LA. So there are little things that I'm doing to kind of grind it out. But
Scarlett Johansson didn't meet you, did she? I said she wouldn't.
She did. Of course she did.
Oh, okay. All
yeah.
right.
Why wouldn't she meet me?
I just thought she'd just get her agent to send you a message on the day. Hey,
no. No, she was coming to my agency Paradigm anyway for something else. So it wasn't just strictly for a meeting with me, but we did meet with her and her agent and manager. That's still a possibility. Is she a
Minifan? Is she a Minifan?
She's a huge Minifan. Yeah, she hasn't missed enough. She's more of a Stephen Gloucester fan.
She just likes. That's her show.
She hasn't missed one. No, so that's still hopefully going to get made. If not with her, hopefully with someone else.
Great.
So yeah, I can't complain. I'm still I have an amazing life.
Yeah. If that's it, if none of this ever really, if nothing else ever lands again, will you be satisfied with the run you had?
That's a good question. Yes, mainly because I never, like I said, I never expected it. It came out of the blue. So it feels like the whole time it's just been on, this whole decade has been on house money. I turned 50 next Friday. And I was almost 40 when I decided to do stand-up for the first time, which led to me writing the script. And so, yeah, so the I would be completely content with my entertainment career if that's what it is. But then I'd have to find something else to do. That's
KMS. And then, look, Men is Minifan Network. Anytime you can send me anything, I swear to you, I'll put it up. Whatever you send me, it gets
I'm
broadcast.
not sure if that's the moneymaker that I'd like it to be.
You never know.
But yeah, so that's the only trepidation I have is like, if I think I give it another 2 to 5 years of this type of things, and I'm still making enough money. Like the money's fine.
Shut up about the money. There's enough Minifans.
No, I just mean like it's not like I'm it's not like I'm mutt over here. With a fucking newsletter.
No one said you're mutt. No one ever said you're mutt. This is your inner fears talking.
But just like from a failure perspective, like if I keep getting no's on stuff and things don't get made, yeah, I would say like within 2 years, I'd probably, if nothing happens, I would have to try to figure out something else to do, which is kind of sucks at 50 something.
Yeah. Could you go back to law?
I mean, I could, but that would be the most depressing thing of all time. So that
start
would be
a podcast.
Last resort. How are things going with you, by the way? So all the focus, I hear you're single.
I'm single, ready to mingle. I mean, so my acting journey is the opposite of yours. I was a child.
That's what I was actually trying to get to your acting.
Shut up. I was a child actor, so I went the other way. I was like, I did professional plays, commercials, and what killed me, and I actually told the story recently on another show, was in the summer between like junior school and high school, I was on a worm tablet ad and I was a boy with worms. So I get to high school and every fucking kid knows me, the boy with worms, and all boys school. I don't know if you went to an all boys school, but they can be fucking, brutal. So, I'm the kid with worms. So they run the ad for a year. I'm Combantrin worm tablet boy. And then they call me at the end of the year and say, look, it's gone so well. We want to run it again. And I'm cashed up. Like I'm 12, 13, thousands of dollars in the bank account. And they're like, we want to do it. We want to run it again. So as you know, they pay you again. Oh. So I had, it was murder. It was hell. So it scared me away from the business. So I gave up. I gave up the job.
What is it? What do you mean? What do you mean by worm tablet?
Like you take worm tablets to prevent having worms. It's true.
It's just such a specific commercial to be the
one. Well, it's not really good for high school, I can tell you. Really bad for high school. So I had to, I did some commercials for Canada that were toys, and no one ever saw them, so it was much better.
Okay.
But anyway, look, enough about my short-lived acting career.
No, I think we should just spend the rest of the time talking about that.
Yeah.
Do you have this worm tablet commercial? Is it accessible?
I do.
Somewhere?
Yeah, I do actually. It's I'll tweet it out. It's
yes, please.
I'm so young though. I'm so young, and I played a prince in a Shakespeare play. That was one of, I was classic. I did everything. Treaded the boards. You name it.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. Like that's.
And then
for me, like when I'm auditioning now, I don't have that. I have no acting. I mean, I did 7 seasons, 70 episodes, as an actor. So I kind of learned figured it out along the way. But there's times now when I'm auditioning for stuff, especially stuff that's way out of who I am, very different from who I am with the characters, where I realize I have no base. I have nothing to go back to. I'm not sure what technique I'm supposed to be using here.
Yeah, In Welcome to Sweden, you are just playing yourself, which is easy.
Totally, yeah. Which was a mistake, I think, in retrospect, because the Swedes kept saying we want you to be more of a whatever they would consider to be a typical American. Like they wanted me to be a huge right wing George Bush fan from Texas who really clashed culturally with them. And I kept arguing against that just because I didn't want to have to play a character. I just wanted it to be close to me. So, but I think that would have worked better in terms of the dichotomy between the two main characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so back to KMS. Enough diversion into your fledgling acting career. I did send you, when I first sent you a message, I said to you, one of my friends was in a movie with your sister, and you just ignored it. You just went, fuck off.
Okay, who's that?
Do you know Ike Barinholtz?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I lived in Amsterdam for a year and worked at a place called Boom Chicago, which was an improv theater where people from Second City and all that used to go
Yeah.
over there. And he was a cast member. So was a
Seth,
good friend.
right?
Yeah, Seth. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Seen his show in New York and went into the green room, which was pretty fun. And Brendan Hunt, who is Coach Beard in Ted
Yeah.
Lasso,
Yeah.
good friends
Yeah.
with him. Anyway, so yeah, so Ike was in Sisters. That's with Amy. That's
Yep.
you hate your sister. That's the rumor that you hate your sister.
I mean, it's the only time I really hear about my sister is through Minifandom, the KMS.
Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
I live in Sweden, so I don't get too much of it there. And when I'm in LA, maybe people are talking about it behind my back, but they kind of never bring it up to me. So Minifans seem obsessed. Like I can't put anything out there. The other day I tweeted something about, or not about, I replied to a Donald Trump tweets.
Oh yeah, everyone.
People were like, "You're fucking, you're just riding the coattails of your sister." Like, what the hell?
A liberal prick.
What the fuck? It was just a reply. I wasn't involving the Minifans at all. How are they? And so yeah.
It must be weird though having like a superstar sister, because there's a lot of great actors, but everyone knows Amy Poehler. Like, so everywhere you go, you will get that.
Not so much here, though. I mean, that's the thing. So it's,
but they know, like they would know her. Like they wouldn't know some actress.
I mean, maybe like they're not so. Like, Parks and Rec, is on streaming service here. So like it was never on, originally. So, and they don't get SNL. So it's not like, I mean,
Swedes are too depressed to worry about.
There was a time this summer when she was visiting here, which was, one of the highlights of my life, when we were walking down the middle of Stockholm together, and someone stopped me and said, "Oh, I love your show." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Hey, it was the first time. It was 100 to 1 now that's happened in times we've been together. But no, I mean, is it weird? I guess. I mean, I kind of saw that her celebrity gradually. I mean, we were living together in New York from '98 to 2002. So,
so you know Seth pretty well then.
Oh yeah, very well. He's been here.
Do you know Josh as well?
Yeah, of course. They're both here, Sweden, visiting recently.
I'm surprised you haven't been on their podcast, Family Vacations or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a stepping stone. Now, like they see you're on Minifandom.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, we've got to get Greg on.
Yeah. So I've seen her, like I saw it gradually happening. So yeah, I think the thing that being around, not just her, but being in that world a bit, a little bit on my end too, like just, there's not that I'm huge in Sweden. Literally I'm fat. I'm the fattest guy here. Everybody here is in ridiculously good shape, but no, when you the more you get into the whatever that celebrity world is, the P. Diddy world,
sex clubs,
you realize it all just is meaningless. Like it's you're with these people,
No, don't get philosophical. I don't need.
No, but I mean it's true though. You're having this conversation with these people, and then all of a sudden the door opens, you go outside, and there's people who are super excited to see these people, and I don't know. I've never really been that type when it comes to celebrities anyway, but it's just once you really examine it, just becomes just silly.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I just mean for you, it's a very different experience, because it's not like just I've got my sister's an actor. Like, as I said, she's pretty much a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's only good since I'm in the industry. Actually, it's only good. Like, the bigger she gets, the better it is for me. I'm hoping that there's some sort of hand-me-down nepotism job.
Yeah, I mean, that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood. Did you sort of clock it growing up though? Like, was she always tracking like that way?
I mean, a little bit. She was in like the high school plays and like starring in the high school plays, and then, like I said, in college she was in these like improv group and stuff. But I mean, there was a time when she was out in Chicago, after college, and in Second City and Improv Olympic and stuff. Like I said, I would go out to these shows and be like, wow, she is amazing. She is the best improviser I've seen, actually. and she was in the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is also they were unbelievably good. But you still thought like, oh, they're going to be improvisers, and there are still a bunch of people from that world who are unbelievably talented who kind of never got their shot on TV or whatever, and so they lived a life of like waiters or waitresses,
Friends
so
with some.
there's a really fine line.
Shout out Joe Kennelly if you're listening.
So yeah, so I mean, there was a time when I was a lawyer in New York, like hotshot lawyer, and she was a struggling waitress in Chicago that that I was, questioning her career choices. But no, so it wasn't a huge surprise because I always knew she had the talent, but it was, talent met opportunity, I guess.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for answering those questions because, Minifans are obsessed with your sister, so I had to throw a few in there. But we're really here to talk about the big issues. Like, if Mick were to come to you, what advice would you give him?
I can't figure him out. He was literally offered the job, 2 or 3 times and walked out on it. And I think in his mind, he wasn't going to get the job, so I don't know what that's about. I would recommend that he just, takes it easy. Take it easy when it comes to life and when it comes to certainly this world. This world is ridiculous and fake. So I wish Mick nothing but the best. I hope he has a strong comeback soon in this world.
Okay, so your advice is just take it easy.
Yeah.
Ease into it.
Yeah, and if it's easy, take it twice. You know what I'm saying, Manners?
That's good advice. Very good advice. And as a fellow bit guy, as another bit guy, what advice would you give to Justin? Because
am I a bit guy?
Oh, you write comedy, so you
okay. I wouldn't tell Justin to change a thing. I think his bits. I would say, well, it's hard to say because I feel
change his diet. Change his diet. We all agree on that.
I feel like his bit at the Sacco show was so unbelievably bad. That was one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Was it worse than Montante video he did with you? The producer
it was on par with that. I just couldn't believe that they. What I couldn't believe about hearing those was that there was. I know they filmed them or recorded them in the morning, but there was a time when they did finish and they were like, "There it is, we got it." Like there's no second take or something. So I would tell Justin to lean into those type of things. But then again, if he's doing it, bad on purpose, then it's going to change the whole, dynamic anyway. So yeah, so I would tell him not to change anything.
I like it. Do you hate Mayo?
No, I like Mayo. I think I enjoy his time on the show.
Any third chairs you'd like to see more of or less of?
Let's see.
John Peltier's balls. Did we see enough of his testicles?
I mean, there's not so many. There's. It feels like the third chairs, especially in the Cullinan era, just keep getting recycled. So we're seeing enough of the usuals. I can't think of any that have been on that I recently that I would like to see more of. Maybe the Birdman.
Oh wow,
Dylan the Birdman. I think he was only on once, right?
Yeah, he brings a calming presence, that's for sure.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, I find I sometimes send him photos of interesting birds I see around. As a TV guy, as we've discussed, I've said for a long time, I think the case has huge potential to move across to TV, to a streaming service, because, think of what Kirk has achieved with these schmucks around him. Imagine what he could do with actual producers and talented people who get shit done. Do you think there's potential there?
As like a
true crime
docu-series?
Yeah, true crime series,
Sure. I don't know exactly. I mean, I think it's more that they would probably just option the stories into a series. But I'd like to see what. I mean, if Kirk was involved, it'd be interesting to see what he could do with it as a host or something.
Yeah, that's what I think. If he was a host and the investigator, and they had like a production thing, I think of what he's done with Steve and Cullinan, especially the lab.
Yeah, that's true.
It's an achievement. I would say that was a lukewarm response in the case. If you a
Oh,
true crime
I'm trying to
guy,
think, for me, when they were talking about it becoming a thing on Netflix, I was assuming they were optioning the story and that they would make a story, but I don't know. I don't know what that entails. I don't have any inside info on that.
okay, I was just looking for your insights. I cannot wait for the Hernandez episode with Kirk to drop.
I know that's going to be unbelievable. I hope it's it's at least a few seconds of screen time.
So isn't this who's bankrolling this? Isn't this bankrolled by the Crafts? Is it the Crafts that have bankrolled it, or is it
No,
the Globe? It's the Globe. I thought it's John Henry and his team, because if it's John Henry and his team, they could just see this as an opportunity to settle a score with Kirk and like make him.
Oh, that'd be amazing. If Kirk is portrayed in a ridiculous manner,
Yes,
I would. I would hope that would be so amazing. Like they overdo it and give him some terrible lines, just as retribution. That would be, that would be worth it. I don't have access to it here. We don't have it yet, so
we don't have it. I only want to watch the episode with Kirk in it anyway.
Yeah, totally.
We just recorded the Aussie Minifan show before, and the question was posed: who would I get to play myself in a movie? And I said Dustin Hoffman, because young Dustin Hoffman and me, very similar. The hair's not helping at the moment. Or Danny DeVito, of course.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. Combination of the two, perhaps. Exactly. I think you should do it. I mean, with all your experience with these worm commercials, I think you should just do it yourself.
Yeah, play myself. You're right. All right, now we get to the listener question segment. So, Greg, I've edited these listener questions because there was some stinkers. I mean, the Minifans, it was a race to the bottom.
I would, as a true politician, though, I would say I'm willing to answer any question. So there's nothing.
Absolutely.
If you're editing questions, that is not.
No. It's not nothing to do with preserving you. It's there are certain standards on this show that I like to maintain, and I know that might not be apparent, but they are there. Right. So Beanbag Ron, how often do you think about hitting your first 3, and even better, the Poehler to Ron deep ball?
Deep ball, I think about more because that's kind of my specialty. I'm really good at like baseball passes on the court, and that was kind of the first highlight. And I remember seeing Ron streaking down the court open was a thrilling moment. First 3, I don't really think about.
For everyone.
The first 3, I don't think about. The second 3 that I missed is the one I think about all the time, because if that had gone in. I just want to see what that would have been like. The joy that would have brought to Josh's life would have been unbelievable. And he was ready to absolutely explode if I hit that second 3 in a row. So I think about that one quite a bit.
There's a story in Josh's life. Like he's got the potential to be a great announcer. His mum was this degenerate whore. He's lucky to have a job and be a functioning adult. Anyway, Mikey Grabbag, what's Hollywood's etiquette on getting a hard-on in some of those you, me, her sex scenes?
Oh,
I know, but you answer this for them.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's hard. There's different things. There's one that's like a pouch, like a thong that you put on. So if you want to have a bare ass shot, you can't see it. And then it wraps around the front, and it's really restrictive, so it like really holds things down. But that sometimes shows on the top. So if you want to have a nude scene, you can't have that. You just have to have a pouch, which you have over your cock and balls, and you zip it up basically. But I was not enough of an actor to not get hard during some of those scenes. So this is true. I had to go to the director and say ahead of time to these women, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not that good an actor. I'm going to probably get aroused. So just so you know. And there was one, I won't say which, but there was one woman that I worked with that was super upset about it beforehand and during. And then the other one was like, oh, no problem. I'm actually flattered. So it's hard. I mean, they're literally on top of you grinding. You're having these like, fake sex scenes, and especially with the threesome scenes, was 2 women kissing in front of you, and like it was. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm a method actor. I'm like De Niro. I have to
Apparently,
feel it.
well, that's this other actress. She was saying, she was telling me a story of the movie she was in, and she was like, "Can you believe it? He got hard." And I was like, "Oh God, this is going to be a tough shoot for me." Because, I didn't know that's a level of professionalism that exists. I'm only human, but maybe that's why I haven't gotten a role since.
Maybe I didn't think about that. They're all freaked out because of that.
The story going around Hollywood is the guy that gets hard.
There's a sex are there sex scene coordinators? Like, did the show have one?
Yeah, we did, and ours is really funny because the two women on the show had in their contracts that they had no nipples. They couldn't show nipples, and I didn't have any restrictions, so I could be naked. I could be naked the whole time, and they took advantage of that. But there were certain scenes where, because it would actually backfire. There are no nipples contract, because there were certain scenes where I had to like start with my hand on one breast and on the other, just to cover the nipples,
and then like boner just hanging down.
Like, and action.
And the sex coordinator comes up. Yes, we'll just put the boner over there, please, Greg. Thank you.
If you can put the boner down, it'd be amazing. Yeah, so it is very like that's it's very technical in that sense. And I know, like, everybody who's in the business, you'll always hear them say like, "Oh, it's not sexy at all," but that's actually not true. I mean, it's not true. If you're even mildly attracted to your co-star and you're making out and having grinding, it's not the worst way to spend a work.
No, but I still would find it weird that there was a lot of people around. Like that would be the thing for me. Like, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like if I was alone filming a scene with a woman, that'd be a different thing altogether. But you know what I mean? Like, it's the other people that are. I'd be like, oh, there's 10 people watching me, so it doesn't feel.
The scene didn't mind so much because you kind of lose yourself. You're in the bed with two women, but then after, like I said, I was almost always naked, and the women, they were so concerned because they had these clauses in their contracts, and they're women, and so they're more vulnerable, of course. So they had much more of like when they said cut, the people would run up to them and give them stuff to put on, and so I would just be standing there, usually just
it's huge, massive erection,
and just waiting. And the worst thing, like there were scenes where I was totally naked, and they'd be shooting, and the worst was when there was a camera, they had to change the lens. So be like, oh, just give me a couple minutes. It's not enough time to go to your dressing room, so you're just kind of standing there, and they're just fixing the lens. And that's when you're just kind of that's when you feel it. That's when you feel like those. It's like those dreams where you show up to work naked, like it's literally happening.
Yeah, I'm living it.
No.
Mikey also asked, would you direct a therapist sex scene between Justin and Justin's friend Mark after what we saw or heard at soccer?
A sex scene. Did it start getting dirty towards the end?
I think it could go that way between those two with just a little push.
I mean, the chemistry between the two was undeniable. So I can see it going that way. Yes, I would direct that. I would an audio version, at least, where you could hear them making the sounds required.
Andy Mayo asked, have you watched his stand-up video? Did you watch Mayo's stand-up?
I did. Yeah.
What did you think?
10 out of 10. Loved it. Okay. I mean, no notes. I loved it in the sense that it was a performance for that crowd. You know what I mean?
Good, clean fun.
Good, clean fun, but also like certain things I was like, I don't think that's that funny, but for whatever that community is, they were eating it up. So, similar to these corporate gigs that I do, there was a man who knew his audience and delivered, I think.
He also asked, is Amy aware that KMS exists? Can't imagine.
Maybe I don't. Maybe there's been times when I've been talking about doing podcasts and stuff. So, but I don't know 100% if she knows what it is.
My friend Liz does a podcast with your sister. Okay, they're in bed with Odyssey. That's who they're in bed with. They do podcasts with. Yeah. So they work for George Soros now. Is that good or bad?
According to the right wingers, he just controls everything. So I guess it's bad.
Okay, here we go. Next question. This is from Yeesh. Being a liberal comedian, do you like shitty podcasts like Smartless and Pod Save America?
It's a very objection leading, assuming facts that aren't evidence. Liberal, first of all, I don't know if I consider myself a liberal just because I don't like Trump. I consider myself an American who likes democracy.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm a member of the Conservative Party here in Sweden, which is still way left of the Democrats. But do I listen? I don't listen to Smartless. I do occasionally listen to Pod Saves America. Yes.
You're right. There you go. I occasionally listen to Smartless. I do like Jason Bateman, because he's just always been there. And Will Arnett's kind of funny, and the other guys into Star Wars, so I enjoy it. But they're a bit self-indulgent, and they think they're the funniest people in the world, which kind of annoys me.
Yeah, I shouldn't comment publicly too much on that, but I have.
Why, you know them?
Yeah, I know them very well. I mean, Will used to be married to my sister.
Oh yeah, of course, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to go.
But I have been on. I have been out with the three of them actually together, years ago, and their banter in life is exactly like this in the podcast. So I mean, it's not that I'm uninterested in listening. It just feels like I've done it before.
I get it.
No.
They're a bit self-indulgent. That's an agreeing.
No, they're all.
They get good. They get great guests. I do.
Yeah, I was just at his house a couple of weeks ago.
Who, Will or Jason?
Yeah, Will's.
Nice. That's good that you still have a good relationship.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously father to my nephews. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
And he lives next to Jeff Bezos in Beverly Hills.
Wow.
And the Bezos compound, when you drive, it's a street you can drive down to Beverly Hills. It's not like it's a private way. And the entirety of the block is the highest hedges you could possibly imagine. I don't know where they got these mountainous trees that block the whole thing for the whole way. And it's like, oh, that's Bezos up. You can't really see it. It's just shrubbery as far as you can see. So I don't know what's going on in there, but I'm sure that's one of his 50.
Probably sex parties and trafficking and stuff. Okay, another question from Yeesh. How disappointed were you in Coleman? This is a good question. Both Boston College graduates. Coleman, how were you? Yeah, how disappointed were you? Say it 3 times.
Like in life or on the show?
He actually says as a person and a producer.
I would have loved to, as a listener or a viewer, I don't know which one I am now. I would have loved to have seen him come back and fight a little bit. And if he was going to go out blazing, go out in a fight and tell Kirk
fight for his job,
or just fight for his dignity.
True.
No.
Do you think it was a bit harsh? Because I was one of the few people that thought sleeping in on a Saturday morning to go to an amusement park. Are we taking it a bit far here?
Yeah, I actually said that on the show that I was on with Kirk, which must have been right after that, where I said for me that's not a big deal at all. A Saturday going to amusement park, sleeping in I know he views it differently in terms of it being like show related and things like that. But I think that was somewhat of a final straw in many ways. Obviously. He had shown sort of a lack of initiative, but I thought Coleman the whole time it was a fraud. I thought he was playing the role of conscientious, diligent employee when he was at home jacking off,
smoking bongs, playing video games.
Yeah.
This is from Instant Kirk. Does Greg think Blind Mike laughs a tiny bit too hard at everything you say?
No, I think Blind Mike has an exquisite and perfect taste in comedy, which I respect very much. And if he's laughing hard at the things I'm saying, it's must be warranted.
You got to sell the joke, even bad ones.
No, I find him very funny too. I think he and I, when we're next to each other, we laugh a lot. And in fact, when I listen or watch back some of my performances on KMS. Like I feel like I have a laugh. It's kind of like the Artie Lang, like that laugh that just gets in the way a lot of things.
That's sweet.
But when he and I are next to each other, I think we're both genuine. I think it's genuine laughter. I think we both find each other very funny.
That's sweet. I think you, Kirk, and Mike are a killer combination. So I'd like to see it again. If nothing ever happens again, you'll always have KMS. You'll have that safe landing spot. Well, that's it for all the good questions. Clark Spencer asked what happened to the dubbed idea with Scarlett Johansson. Did she go with it?
I answered that earlier in the thing. You weren't listening.
You met, but did she's still looking into
it? The thing about those pitches is, if they don't say yes in the room, there's that level of like, maybe this is a no. But then if it's a no, you get the no right away. And we haven't gotten a no. What we've gotten from them is, can I see the script and when were you thinking of shooting this? So
how pretty in real life is she?
She's very pretty. Yeah, I've met her a couple times, or seen her a couple times. Met her twice, but yeah, she's always she's great.
Good. Very diplomatic answer. All right, we always end Minifandom with a segment dedicated to Red. Well, you're a listener to Red's, parents who are sadly not with us anymore. But they can watch whatever they want in heaven. Just, my idea of heaven, unlimited streaming services. So I'll go first with what I'm watching. I've got two recommendations for the listeners. First one, I thought of you. I just saw My Old Ass with your friend Aubrey Plaza in it.
Yeah.
Really good little film. I don't know if you've seen it, but really enjoyable. I recommend to the Minifans go and see it. Have you seen it?
No, but I know
really
about
good.
it.
Really good. And well written, clever writing. And shout out to my friend's show that season 2 just dropped on Paramount Plus. It's called Colin from Accounts. I'm good friends with the two who wrote it and star in it. So if you have Paramount Plus in the States, go and see Colin from Accounts season 2. What are you watching?
Nice. With me, I'm watching whatever. We as a family, me and all my kids, we watch. We have an hour every night where we watch something, and it's been various shows and various genres. But
can I just interrupt? That is so nice, because in my family, before the divorce and the split and everything, when we were a family, it was, by the end with teenage, it was, they were watching something on their laptop. My other kid was watching something on her laptop, and, me and probably by myself, which is why the marriage ended. But I'd just be watching something. So it's so nice that you make that effort to just, because it's so easy just to watch your phone. You don't have to do that anymore.
No, I know. Yeah, we've done it for their whole lives, basically. So
beautiful.
It's tougher now with some of my sons are playing basketball on and off. So, but they sometimes have to catch up. But we are rewatching Lost as a family, and I maintain still that it's the best network show of all time. I
really,
love it. Yeah, I don't think it's close in terms of drama, network dramas. I know people have their opinions of it, mainly nerds who are unsatisfied with some of the explanations, but in terms of watching it again through their eyes, people who have seen it for the first time, it's insanely good. And still 20 years now, it's been since that show came out, and it still holds up really, really well. It still doesn't feel dated at all. So
just dropped on Netflix here.
Just dropped on Netflix, yeah. So I would encourage people to go back and watch that if they can. I'm trying to think of
anything not 20 years old.
I saw a bunch of movies on the plane recently, but now I can't think of.
That's right. Obviously not. No, that's all right. You're too busy to watch TV. I get it.
No,
do you have a comfort show? So
I do. This is I was going to give you something now. You just said it's a comfort show. It's going to be the worst answer of all time. But every year around 9/11, I go down a total 9/11 rabbit hole, and watch millions of things. So I've this past month since 9/11, since I was in New York at the time, pretty close by too. So, but
okay.
But so the documentary that's on National Geographic right now, at least here, it's like 6-part documentary. I would really recommend.
Do you blame Mama Kay?
Presumed Innocence was another show that we watched as a family.
Which one? Sorry.
Presumed Innocence, which was on Apple.
Presumed Innocent. Yep.
The one that
I was. Did he spoil it for you? Had you seen it yet?
No, I'd seen it. Luckily,
I was just about to start watching it that day, and I just went. What I'll do is I'll wait because in a few months I'll have forgotten what he said, and I'll just.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
But you missed my line. Do you blame Mama Kay for what happened on 9/11 now?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I feel like she should have spread the word, or at least not gone on the flight that she was getting on. You know, I think it's selfish to her family the fact that she got on the flight. I think that's the weirdest part of the story is to have these premonitions and be like, all right, well, I guess I got to get going.
Well, the investigative journalist Kane actually interviewed Mama Kay, which aired last night. So you can go back and watch that, viewers. And she actually answers that question about why she flew. Good. Yeah. Pro tease right there. Well, Greg, thanks for joining me on Minifandom. It's been great to catch up. All the best with winter in Sweden. Soak up the sun before it goes away. And,
let me know how your acting career is there any more Worm commercials on the horizon or
no, I'm talking about turning Manners Live pro. I'm talking about turning Manners Live and Minifandom pro. I'm talking about becoming the first professional Minifan. Like start a Patreon, just do Minifan content, just completely leech off Kirk.
You just play different characters as well.
Yeah. I'll just impersonate him in like different situations. So I will. I'll keep you posted. I'll send you the worm out. I've got it. Listeners, thanks for tuning into Minifandom, and we'll be back soon.